People were crying and others tried to help them feel better. Everyone watched as a hunter from Asia defeated the creature that was a danger to all people. When a famous hunter named Thomas Andre was hurt, another top hunter, Leonard Nierman, quickly helped. That's when the monster stopped being just a problem for South Korea, and became a problem for everyone. It became a fight to save everyone on Earth. People still remembered how scary it was when Kamish the dragon destroyed city after city in the United States. Nobody wanted to see something that terrible happen again. People watching in the US, Germany and all over the world were amazed by Jinwoo's win. It felt like everyone was trying to forget how scared they had been when they saw the strongest hunters get beaten. Yes, people kept cheering every time Jinwoo fought the Frost Monarch. Finally the strong monster fell and his remains blew away with the wind. As everyone shouted loudly, "Ooh!" the happy shouts of the people could be heard in cities all around. News reporters sharing the updates were excited. They announced that Thomas Andrew, who seemed badly hurt, is now doing okay. Emergency vehicles arrived to help people who were injured and take them to the hospital. The creature that had been hurting people stopped moving. Everything was destroyed now, just ashes. News that the battle was finished kept coming, and people were very excited. Jinwoo sung, but the happiest person was probably Jin Chul-woo, the president of the Hunters Association. He kept watching the TV while the people working with him celebrated and hugged. He noticed something that surprised him. Wait a minute. Jin Chul quickly got his phone and played a video he had saved. He had watched the video of President Go being attacked in this office many times. He pressed play. The man in the video was hard to see because he only appeared for a short time, and the video wasn't clear, but the man looked like the creature Jinwoo had just fought. Also the ice melted at the same speed as before. That meant something. Jin Chul suddenly understood who Jinwoo had been fighting, the person who killed President Go. He remembered talking to Jinwoo after hearing about President Go's death, and he felt a shiver run down his spine. Thank you for staying with President Go until the end. I'm going to defeat the monster that hurt him. No matter what. What? I will find the creature that caused President Go's injury and make it pay. Please don't thank me yet. Jinwoo kept his word. Jin Chul's nose turned red and his eyes watered as he watched television. The camera showed a close-up of Jinwoo's face. Jin Chul felt he understood how tired Jinwoo looked. Jin Chul's heart felt full of emotion. President Go was finally at peace. Thinking about the man he had respected so much, he looked at Jinwoo with thanks. Thank you, Hunter Sung. The icy form of the Frost Monarch slowly turned to dust. Jinwoo had gotten revenge for the late President Go and for himself. He stared at where the Frost Monarch had disappeared, and then turned around. The marshals had been watching from far away, waiting for Jinwoo to defeat the Frost Monarch. Now they walked toward their leader. Igris remained respectful and calm, even though he had all of his power back. Baru was very happy to see his master again. My king. Baru's eyes were filled with tears. Jinwoo patted Baru's shoulder and looked around. He looked for the other man, but he was gone. He could not see the man in the worn robe anymore. Who was that man earlier? Igris answered the question instead of Baru, who was very emotional. He was completely focused on keeping you safe while you were unable to wake up. Jinwoo was a little surprised to hear Igris's deep voice for the first time. But he quickly got used to it. He looked curious. He protected me. Yes, master. Igris usually spoke the language of magical creatures, because he wasn't used to speaking like people do. Jinwoo easily talked with Igris. Why had this man helped him? Jinwoo had never met him before. While they were talking, Jinwoo noticed something on the floor. He picked it up and his eyes grew wide. The man in the robe walked around the side of a broken building, and pulled off his hood. His hair was messy and his beard was untidy. Alwan Sung leaned against the wall to rest. Ha. He lifted his left hand, which felt numb. It had turned gray, and the tips of his fingers were slowly turning to dust. Using power from a powerful being in a human body had difficult results. Even though he was in a lot of pain, Alwan seemed happy. I did it. He was able to use the power to keep his son safe. Now that Jinwoo was known as the Shadow Monarch, he would be a big help to people. It was all worth it in the end. He glanced at his hand as it began to fade, then leaned his head against the wall and closed his eyes. The powerful rulers had given Ilwan their strength and asked him to stop the Shadow Monarch. He didn't really have a choice anyway, since he had been trapped between worlds after the doorway closed behind him. He came back to Earth as a representative of powerful beings with a crucial task. But he couldn't complete it. How could a father end the life of his own son, even if that son held something terrible that could hurt everyone? Ilwan could only watch Jinwoo from afar. Ilwan was delaying his important task when the rulers changed their goal. The most powerful piece of luminosity then gave Ilwan a new instruction. Guard the Shadow Monarch. The rulers understood they needed the Shadow Monarch to be as strong as possible to defeat the other monarch's schemes. The Dragon King and his army planned to attack soon, before the Sky Soldiers could arrive. The Shadow Monarch was the only one powerful enough to stop him. The leaders weren't sure if the Shadow Monarch would help the people, so it was a risk to ask for help. Now they knew what the Shadow Monarch would do. Jinwoo decided to stay with the people he cared about, and the Shadow Monarch agreed with his choice. The Shadow Monarch had actually been reborn as Jinwoo himself. He felt it was worth protecting Jinwoo, even if it meant risking everything. Iwin was sad that he had to leave without saying goodbye to his son, whom he hadn't seen for 10 years. But no one should take a parent away from a child again. Not even the parent themselves. It would be better for Jinwoo if Iwan simply went away without causing trouble. Ilwan tried to feel better thinking this as he watched his body turn to dust. Right then he sensed someone nearby that he knew. Iwan used his right hand, which still worked, to quickly pull his hood over his head and stood up. Someone was standing in front of him, and Iwan knew exactly who it was. It was Jinwoo. Iwan walked past the sun. He really wanted to call too. Jinwoo turned to look at him. Did you think I wouldn't know who you are, even with your face covered? Alodwan stopped walking quickly. How could that be? As Alodwan turned around to look at his son, Jinwoo threw something to him. Alodwan caught it. It was the dagger he had dropped when his hand had gone numb. Alwan looked up at his son, Jinwoo, who was looking at him with disapproval. Jinwoo remembered the small knives his father had when he was a child. He recalled getting scolded for playing with those knives when he was younger. It suddenly became clear to Jinwoo why his father chose knives as weapons instead of a sword, which most powerful fighters like the Shadow Monarch used in battles. It was because of his memories of his father. The system seemed to be influenced by Jinwoo's memories, and kept giving him daggers. Were you going to leave without saying goodbye again, Dad? Jinwoo asked quietly. Dad. Alwan lowered his hood as the question touched him deeply. His right hand was slowly turning to dust. Jinwoo was surprised when he looked at his father's hands. I didn't want you to see me this way, his father said with a sad smile. Jinwoo knew that if someone's body started to turn to dust, there was nothing anyone could do to help. He tried to run to his father, but Iwan held up his right hand to stop him. His left arm had already turned to dust up to his shoulder. Jinwoo stopped unwillingly. What about you, Dad? Didn't you want to see me? Iwan's right hand fell to his side. I really wanted to see you all this time. Ilwan was glad he could watch Jinwoo, even if Jinwoo didn't know he was there. When Jinwoo stood in front of him, Ilwan gently touched his face, and Jinwoo's tears fell onto his hand. Even though he hadn't been around, Jinwoo had you've become so strong. Did the powerful beings do this to you? Did they leave you after you helped them? Jinwoo asked, his voice full of anger. But Oswan shook his head. They let me make a choice. I chose to protect you, and it was the right thing to do. Oswan's right hand was slowly turning to dust and floating away. I wish we had more time to talk, he said sadly. He just wanted a little more time with his son. It was a terrible thing he had done, making his son forget his father all over again. Alwan couldn't stop the tears from falling. I'm sorry I wasn't a good father. When he said those words, Wish Alwan had used all his strength fighting the powerful enemies, and his body completely fell apart. Jinwoo tried to hug his father, but all that was left was dust. It felt like something broke inside him. He couldn't hold back his sadness and shouted as loud as he could. Oh hhhhh. The energy in the air around him shook. It felt like the sky, the air, and the ground were all crying with him. A powerful voice, like that of a great king, came from Jinwoo's mouth. Remember what I say. Monarchs. Everything had happened because the monarchs attacked Earth, and Jinwoo would make them pay no matter what. His powerful voice spread across the whole world. I promise you will pay for what happened today. The Shadow Monarch's anger made the sky and land tremble. Are you hearing me, monarchs? That day, a person who gained a special power decided how to use it. That was the day the war really started. Maybe it was lucky that Jinwoo spoke in the language of the world of chaos. His voice traveled across the earth. But most people thought it was just thunder. People had different ideas about what the noise was, but they didn't talk about it for long, because everyone was happy that Jinwoo had won. The area where the monster had been was the same way. Hunters who were worried about fighting next were excited when they found out the monster was already defeated. The leaders of the two strongest groups in Korea, Jongin Cho and Yoon Ho-baek, let out breaths of relief and smiled at each other. President Baek, you looked worried a little while ago. Are you feeling better now? You should wipe your forehead before you talk. President Cho, are you sure your heart isn't beating too fast? I have a plant-based medicine that might help you. Oh my, you're really sweating. Here, please use my handkerchief. They talked and joked with each other, and they could tease each other, because the really bad situation was over. Just a few minutes ago, everyone could barely catch their breath because they were so worried. A very skilled hunter had been thrown around easily. And that was dangerous not only for the leaders of the hunter groups but for all their members too. Everyone there realized that if it hadn't been for Jinwoo, they might have been seriously hurt or worse. Now that the danger had passed, the two leaders were starting to feel better, and were playfully teasing each other. Hyunho looked past Jongin at something nearby. Oh, Jongin turned to see a man walking toward them from the damaged buildings. It was Jinwoo. He was walking quietly. The other hunters noticed him too, and the cheering stopped. All they could hear were the sirens of ambulances in the distance. That's Hunter Jinwoo Sung. That's the man who, even though the fighting was finished, everyone could still feel Jinwoo's strong presence all around them. Everyone was stunned when they saw Jinwoo. Steam was rising from his shoulders, showing he had just finished a huge fight. When their eyes met, President Baek lowered his head to show respect for Jinwoo. That's how it began. One by one, the other hunters also bowed their heads to Jinwoo, like they were honoring a soldier coming home from a battle. It showed how much the hunters respected and admired the fighter. Jinwoo looked at everyone. Then he walked through the crowd of hunters who made a path for him, and went toward a van he recognized. Thomas was getting into an ambulance with Lennart when they saw Jinwoo coming. Lennart looked worried. Hunter Sung doesn't seem happy. Thomas was feeling much better after healers helped him. He nodded. You are right. Why do you think he feels that way? He beat very strong monsters. Hunters understood each other best. They knew how amazing it felt to breathe fresh air after finishing a difficult challenge. Why did Jinwoo seem so sad? Thomas thought he knew. Hunter Sung probably wasn't happy with how Jinwoo fought those monsters. Lennart was surprised. Jinwoo had shown amazing powers, but was upset about how he fought. That didn't seem right. Thomas kept talking, as if he knew what Lennart was thinking. It was hard for me to believe too. But he was likely upset about some mistakes he made during the fight. Oh, that. Lennart made a sound like a hiss when he remembered the beast's claws going into Jinwoo's chest. Lennart felt like everything was falling apart when the old ice elf stabbed Jinwoo. But those things happened because the enemies were very strong, didn't they? How many people in the world could defeat even one of them, let alone both? Lennart shook his head when he thought about it. No, only someone like Lennart, a regular hunter, would think getting hurt was unavoidable. Winning was certain for someone as skilled as Jinwoo. The real question was how he would do it. Lennart felt a shiver as he thought about that. Thomas said, Hunter Jinwoo Sung is a really frightening person. I think so too. During the car ride to the hospital, Thomas agreed with himself that he had made the right choice not to cause trouble at Jinwoo's guild office earlier. Lennart decided he would always try to stay on Jinwoo's good side. The van, belonging to the Ajin Guild, screeched to a halt, and a young man stepped out of the driver's seat. Jinho hurried to the place as quickly as he could when he saw Jinwoo being attacked. Even though he wasn't a very powerful hunter, he was able to find Jinwoo in the group of hunters right away. Jinho ran towards him and tears filled his eyes. Boss? When Jinwoo saw Jinho running to help, some of his anger went away. Jinho rushed forward and hugged him. Usually Jinwoo would have moved away, but he let the hug happen today. Things felt different. As Jinho held him tightly and cried, Jinwoo softly patted his back, knowing someone really cared about him. Slowly helped Jinwoo feel better. His sadness began to fade. Perhaps Jinwoo was right to offer comfort. Jinwoo smiled a little as Jinyo finally calmed down enough to lift his tearful runny face from Jinwoo's chest. Are you feeling better, boss? Not really. What? Jinyo's eyes grew wide at the honest answer. Jinwoo then pointed to his shirt, which was covered in tears and runny nose. Oh. Jinyo quickly wiped his eyes and nose with his sleeve and looked down sadly. I'm sorry, sir. I was just really glad you were alright. Jinwoo laughed a little. Jinyo was always a bit unusual, but he always understood what Jinwoo needed. Jinyo smiled. Sir, I brought you some clean clothes. Clothes? Jinwoo looked down at what he was wearing. He was really upset after fighting the monarchs. If you come home looking like this, your mom will be worried. Right? That's why I brought you some clean clothes. Jinyo smiled as Jinwoo looked at him, pleased with his thoughtfulness. Let's go, sir. I'll drive you home. Jinwoo nodded. His mom and sister probably saw everything on TV, so he needed to let them know he was alright. As Jinyo got into the driver's seat, Jinwoo looked back at the city. Many people had come to help and were working hard. Jinwoo had learned a few things during this fight. The most important thing now was to find a way to communicate while he was in the forest. He didn't want to make the same mistake again. The most important things he found were the daggers. His father had left. He could almost feel his father's presence when he held the handles. Dad Jinwoo didn't move, so Jinyo carefully asked, Boss? Jinwoo softly touched each dagger before putting them away. He moved to the seat next to the driver. Let's go. Yes, sir. He replied. Finally, the long day was over. The Hunters Association of Korea said the creatures that showed up in Seoul were magical beasts that no one had seen before. The damage they caused was terrible. Many people were hurt or killed, and lots of cars and buildings were badly damaged. But things weren't completely hopeless. Maybe something good could come from this difficult time, because people had learned how to deal with emergencies. Jinwoo's incredible strength quickly made people all over the world think differently. This change encouraged action, even from people who you wouldn't expect to help. That evening, Jinchul went to the Blue House, which is like the White House in Korea, to talk about what to do after the monster attacks, and about the strange gate that appeared over Seoul. Because these were very important issues, the president of South Korea was happy to meet with him. They said hello quickly and then started talking. Wouldn't it be better to move away from Seoul? Jinchul asked. President Kim paused, then sighed. I'm sorry I wasn't polite at our last meeting. But please know I haven't forgotten my job as president. He looked scared, but he was trying to be brave. What would the people of Korea think if I left suddenly without saying anything? I don't want people to remember me as someone who didn't succeed. President Kim had acted like most politicians, trying to win support. So Jinchul was surprised by his honest words. The president might have been bothered by Jinchul's reaction, but he didn't say anything because he had also made mistakes. I understand. Jinchul got out some papers he had prepared to show the president. Before he could begin, a worker came in quickly and whispered something to the president. What? Is this really happening? President Kim stood up quickly, surprised. The worker nodded, looking serious. Yes, Mr. President. What do you want to do? Connect the call. I want to speak with them. They gave President Kim a phone and a familiar voice came through. I have been thinking about this for a long time, and I have decided to help the people of South Korea with this problem. It was the voice of the leader of North Korea. President Kim tilted his head, confused. Help us with what? There's a gate above Seoul, right? We will send some of our fighters to help. Let's work together, combining our strengths from the north and south. To deal with this, North Korea was offering help. Even though the gate was very large, nearby countries hadn't offered much help before now. After the battle with the monsters, people's feelings shifted. Leaders around the world agreed that South Korea, and especially Jinwoo Sung, needed to succeed. They believed it was very important that Jinwoo didn't lose. If something happened to Jinwoo in South Korea, it wouldn't just affect that country. Everyone wondered if any hunter anywhere else could handle such a big problem, if Jinwoo failed. Hunters came to Seoul from many countries including North Korea, Japan, China, Russia, the United States, Germany, England and France. They all had the same purpose. They wanted to help Hunter Sung protect a very large gate. Because of what Jinwoo had done, they thought South Korea was the final place to make a stand against the monsters coming through the gate. Hunters from many countries came to Seoul in South Korea to work with the South Korean hunters. Early one morning, while everyone was still sleeping, Jinwoo went back to the forest in Japan. This forest was closed off because of a dangerous event with giant creatures. He wasn't going to train or look at the stars this time. He was there because of something that happened the night before. When he looked at the night sky, he was thinking about Heian. After quickly checking in with his family, to let them know he was okay, Jinwoo hurried back to the hotel. She understood why he needed to leave dinner early. She knew better than anyone what might have happened if Jinwoo hadn't returned to Seoul. It was strange, but Jinwoo kept thinking about how Heian had tried to hide her worry. Now it was time to begin. He looked around at where he was. The quiet forest greeted him like it always did. He had a task to complete here. Jinwoo located a clear space and called forth his soldiers. Appear. His shadow grew larger as shadow soldiers came into view.